Hey, Jason Gomes. I just wanted to talk to you about the precession of the equinox and the masculine and feminine energies. So, if you wanted to think about masculine and feminine energies, you can think of something in terms of rotation. So, imagine that if I'm holding this balloon and it's rotating away from me, that you could consider that masculine, right? And if it's going the other way, right? If it's rotating towards me, we'll call that feminine. Because that's really all that masculine and feminine, or north and south, are. They're inversions of each other. So, how do you create an inversion without ever stopping, right? Because that's like, how do you get it to spin the other way without stopping it, without really mixing it up? Well, the easiest way is rotation. Because, see, if I start over here, right now the penny is spinning away from me. But as I move, the penny naturally makes a 180, right? Its momentum is conserved. And now, relative to me, it appears to be moving in the opposite direction. And that happens twice. Every time you turn around. So it happens here and then it happens here. And it just keeps happening as a 180. So as you do a rotation, you automatically rotate, right? Like right now it's rotating this way from my perspective. And now I'm turning it around. Now it's still rotating this direction, right? Which is the same direction it was rotating before, but now from my perspective it appears to be rotating towards me. Now basically what's happening right now is they're doing a transition between the energy ages, and they're trying to do this, right? They're trying to bring us on our side so that they can move over and continue moving in the same direction, which is unnatural, right? That's why everything feels so screwed up, is because they're really gripping and torquing on the way that we naturally move within our body. They're using a lot of advertising, a lot of marketing, they're using a lot of conflict, a lot of violence to try to disrupt your internal flows so that you become dependent on an outside source, especially with fluorosis, of your pineal gland, which calcifies your third eye, right? It's like glaucoma for your third eye. So your imagination is screwed up, and then they create turmoil in the situation so that you have to rely on them, even if they're sort of like the opposite, right, of where you should be. Because just naturally, you'll naturally shift. As the time changes, you'll naturally shift from masculine, which is direction oriented, which is survival, to feminine, which is creativity and transformation, which are they're both aspects of survival, but they're totally different, and the way that they function is totally different. The way that blood flows from the left side to the right side of your body is completely different. And so you have to understand that all of these things do actually come into play. And that's what's happening right now, is the world's coming back into alignment, because as much as they're trying with symbols and with advertising and with continuous intensity and frequency of basically fear to try to get you to fall out of alignment, to make you feel afraid so that they can control your orientation on the world and the way that you perceive other people and how you interact with them. Because that's how you control a dream, is how all the other dream characters interact, right? So I'm kind of myself, I'm a lucid dreamer, so I'm just enjoying the show. And I just wanted to talk to you about some of these things that nobody seems to want to talk about because they're afraid of, I don't know, not being seen as scientific. But the reality is, it's just looking at science beyond the planet and how the mechanics of physics and quantum physics come into play on all levels. Because there's a reason why they're entangled. It's because they affect each other. If they didn't affect each other, they wouldn't be entangled. But since we're entangled 8-dimensionally, all 8 dimensions are affecting us as human beings, including the precession of the equinox, right? Because that's something pretty significant that's happening on the planet. Imagine the planet shifting from masculine to feminine. That's what's happening. That's the difference between the energy ages and like the survival ages, right? And so right now we're in the energy age, which means that all these technologies that you're seeing, energy is going to slowly progress until it can flow through the universe either through us or through technology fluidly, right? Like our technology is going to advance to the point that it can manifest what our consciousness is desiring. That's the ultimate end point for technology, is the thought manifested into reality, which is the technical recreation of God, right? Like that's what we're striving for, is this thought construct of thought dreamscapes, right? Of you dream something and it becomes manifest in your environment. That's the ultimate goal of technology. And that's what we're trying to do, but we're doing a lot of things wrong simply because a lot of the technology is focused on controlling, killing, and manipulating other people. I think that as we collectively start investing more in livability sciences and start looking at some of the new resources and some of the new technologies that are there, like mushrooms that eat plastic, and using mushroom casing instead of styrofoam, something that's biodegradable, replacing plastics with things that can be reintegrated into the environment, eliminating fuel from our entire economy would be enormous. Just turning the power back on, it would bring us right out of the Stone Age. But people are at this point still really afraid of the government. But I'm glad to see more people are really starting to stand up. I mean, it's beautiful. It's like seeing a bunch of battered housewives standing up to Uncle Sam, like, hey, you can't just be running drugs and starting wars and selling munitions to everyone all over the planet and doing whatever you want and thinking that you're never going to listen to anybody and that our votes don't matter. And more people are starting to say, hey, something needs to be done. And that's awesome, because that means something will be done. Because at this point, we've been living in decades of cowardice, right? In the 80s, they bought us off to get us to step away from the peace and love and the reunification that was happening in the 70s. They say, hey, greed's good. Like, we'll put you on top. Just be greedy with us. And then guess what happened? Now, all those people, most of them are out, or they're in the 1%. So we're sitting here in a situation where people are finally starting to unite. They're starting to realize that the planet is a body. It's a cell. You're a cell. I'm a cell. Just like I have 50 trillion cells in my body right now, that they all beat to my heart. The heart of the planet is everything. It's the electromagnetic field that's holding together the air, the temperature, the water, everything in the body, just like your heartbeat. It's just at a different timing. It's at a different rhythm. It's longer spans. Of course it is. But the point is that we are suffering right now from an autoimmune disorder. That means when the part of the planet is attacking the planet with such veracity that it's actually going to kill the planet. We're destroying other countries' abilities to protect themselves by imposing our will on them. And we don't know better, guys. We don't know. We're not there. We can't manage their land better than them. And it's obvious, because look how poorly of a job we're doing. You'd like to think that China's the problem. But guess what? United States companies going to China because they wanted slave labor prices is the reason why China is this large industrial complex that it is, because they were hollowed out by us, by U.S. investors, by congressmen, and by all these people who've been bought off and sold into this autoimmune disorder of believing that we're separate and that by killing other parts of the planet you can benefit, and in the long term your children's children will benefit. No, it's the exact opposite, and they don't care because they're too too sold on the lie. They bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. They believe that people will not be united because they're so easy to divide. It's not that easy to divide the people of the earth when they have something to stand for. And I think that I'm really happy to be here at a point in time when people are finally ready to stand up to things that don't make any sense, but they make a lot of dollars.